All right, so that's it. We're going to go on and jump right on to the matter we've got for you today, which is going to be some of the internal developments. Well, you could call them wrangling, disquiet, feud within the PDP is all well now, but they're looking forward to the next. And so we've got Ibrahim Abdullahi here with us. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Thank you for having me. Marpo, good morning.
Good morning.
The last time we had you, it was as before the governor of Bauchi State spoke and then said, okay, they had resorted to, I think they used the word status quo, the way things were before that time, and that those who had been suspended were called back. So everybody revert to their positions, which I imagine perhaps you may have. So how is that playing out in practical terms? Have you gone back to being Deputy National Publicity Secretary, or what's going on in that regard, practically?
Well, the admonition by the chairman of the Governors Forum, His Excellency Bala Abdulkadir Mohammed, was to the effect that PDP, like I've always argued, has come a long way, and it cannot at this level throw the baby with the bath water. There was a need for us to look at the cohesion, the unity which characterized the party. And I've said here repeatedly and every other place that 27 years down the road, a baby of 27 is no longer a baby. It's already, PDP is the longest serving political party in Nigerian history since independence. And it's always deploying its internal mechanism in resolving its conflict. Now, the suspension, like I did say here, and I think I spoke with Arise on that same subject, was not suspension per se. It was just a step aside within 14 days. Within that period, a window would have been created for the persons asked to step aside to, interface with the committee. And it's chaired by one of ours, His Excellency Taufik Arapaja, former Deputy Governor of, Oyo State. It is an opportunity just in-house to do some cleaning. When they face, within that period, they would have come and then nobody would have even had all of these things. But then vacuum, nature abhors vacuum. There was no need for that office to be left without somebody stepping in to perform. Now, in line with your question, yes, we were admonished to go. The Governors Forum do not run the NWC. The NWC is an independent body, but these are critical stakeholders in our journey. These are important persons. It's a very useful organ that we respect so very well. So when it advises, we tend to yield. But the meeting is coming up today, later in the day. It is at that meeting that we will now present to the larger house the admonition of the Governors Forum, and then it will be decided finally. But even as I talk to you, I'm still the person in charge in that capacity. Yes, because the NWC that effected the suspension will have to call off the suspension. Without that, I still serve in that capacity.
Oh, okay.
But of course, so my colleagues are back.
The advice by maybe NGF, which was voiced by the governor, is not sacrosanct in terms of when that came through. It doesn't mean it automatically takes effect.
No, of course it will not take effect. Of course, it was not them who suggested for us to suspend our colleagues in the first place. So we'll look at the strength of their advice. And in this case, it's a very important advice. And don't even forget that even within the forum of the governors, a lot of them are not in consonance with the position of the chairman. But that's not the interesting development here. He spoke on their behalf, and some came and said no. But as we speak, we are looking at the most important thing that will keep PDP united so we can bring Nigeria out of these doldrums.
So is the next thing going to happen in October?
Oh, sure. We're looking
October
at
24th?
24th, yes. We're putting finishing touches to that effect. God willing, it will, barring any development, which I don't foresee.
October 24th is just 2 days from now.
2 days away, by Thursday.
Yes, it's on Thursday. And yes, you are in the papers as well. PDP ramps up internal reforms as NEC, NWC governors prepare for critical decisions.
Yes.
What internal reforms are you looking at?
Yeah, it's to the effect, crisis first of all, and some of the things that have continued to militate against our fortune as a party. If you look at since 2015, we've not been able to bring this house, back to its winning ways. But lately, since 2023, it's even been more serious. So we are looking at all of those problems. What were those things that kept militating against our fortune before 2023? get them addressed, and then beginning from 2023 to this time, what are still those things, so that we would nip it in the bud and go back to our winning ways. Yesterday, the body of the reconciliation met. Of course, we have a National Reconciliation Committee headed by His Excellency Prince Olagunsoyin Oyinlola. Yeah. They were in the Southwest. I was here saying it last 2 weeks. They met yesterday and interfaced, putting final touches to its recommendations and findings, which it will present to NWC today, preparatory to presentation at the NEC. For ratification. All things being equal, all of those this disagreement, this disharmony in the House would have been addressed by the end of NEC, God willing.
Reconciliation is not the same thing as reforms. Reforms mean that those rifts have been caused as a result of maybe processes that have not been put in place, or maybe, processes or structures that you do not have within the House. Some people will say that, it's not so much sometimes for political parties that they don't have these structures or processes, is that oftentimes they are ignored, or they are, observed in breach. And that's usually what causes this rift. That's usually what causes the problems that political parties face. So precisely what are you looking to change, apart from, yes, bringing everybody together, getting to agree on certain things? What precisely will change? What lessons are you learning from the crisis that your party has undergone, and what are you hoping to do differently moving forward?
Yeah, it will not be disconnected completely from the unity or the reconciliation. Of course, some of the structures that we have in place are obsolete. We feel like the Constitution review that is ongoing. I am a member or secretary of that committee. I will tell you, and it's chaired by former Governor Emmanuel Udom of Akwa Ibom State. It's an important step in the right direction, ensuring that all of those things that are not strengthening the operation of the party, as it were. A lot of complaints have been coming, a lot of constitutional lacuna, like we have come to appreciate, are put, in the front burner of our discuss to ensure that these things are reviewed for better operation, discussed to ensure that these things are reviewed for better operation and the running of the party. So, of course, yes, in addition to reconciliation, there are structural defects that we have come to appreciate, and all of them are being aggregated with a view to addressing, the problems proper.
Well, we'll see how that eventually happens, on Thursday, because, what we're also saying here in front page is push for Damagum's tenure extension intensifies. Is he his tenure as acting chairman, or is it to solidify his position as substantive chairman of the party?
No, he will continue as acting chairman. There's no need for any substantive here to come, because the Constitution provides for him to continue in that capacity. There's no time limit. Section 47(6) of our Constitution is clear, and that's the same section that a lot of persons are reading upside down. Once there is vacancy as a result of removal, incapacitation, or any other thing to the office of the national chairman, the deputy national chairman from that zone he comes from would take charge of the office, and there's no time frame or time limit for him to do so. In fact, that is a general provision in the Constitution of the PDP. But Section 35(3), 32 have all stated, processes of, succession. And so it's clear, and that is, particular about the position of the deputy national chairman stepping in. When Secondo's former chairman was leaving, it was eldest Akinwumi that succeeded him, and he stayed there for the period to complete Secondus' tenure. Secondus was from the south, and Akinwumi from the southwest. So it's always been, I don't know why the hue about Damagum. Damagum has done nothing strange. He has not brought anything new. He's just trying to, comply with the extant provisions of our law. So to that effect, we adhere to the provisions to ensure that, except anybody is asking us to do anything untoward.
But perception is everything. If there are those who believe that he's not serving the interest of the entire party, that he's only serving the interest of certain sections of the party, doesn't that put your party in jeopardy?
It is not exclusively the case, because perception is not all that politics is about. Between perception and doing the right thing in compliance with the law, which is more important, I think that complying with the law takes prevalence. So whatever people say, the effort I see him do, and everybody, if we have to be fair to him, is to put back the party, on the proper trajectory, reconcile every other person. If we had kept what we were experiencing in the IU-led NWC, by now nobody would have been in PDP. Probably every other person, including me sitting here, would have left this party because it was suspension slammed at our members every other morning. We almost lost every other person. It was what led us to the lose of Peter Obi. We lost Kwankwaso. We lost Shema. We lost. The list goes endless. Every other person was just every morning go suspension, and that constituted clog on the wheel of progress. It counted on our fortune, and I think Damagum has brought wisdom. This present NWC, whatever you take from us, you will give it to us that we've been able to keep the party united, even in the face of increasing pressure. To say that, look, now since you guys have been talking, a committee to reconcile and discipline, they are both working. And today we will take the report from the reconciliation.
Let me get this straight. Did you say that your colleagues who were suspended are back within the fold?
Yes, they have. They are expected to be today at NEC. And then when we take decision, NWC, beg your pardon. And then when we take decision after the meeting, we will now present our final position to the press. We will tell Nigerians where we stand, whether they are back formally. But certainly they are within the secretariat.
Informally, they are back.
Informally, they are back, yes.
In other words, the allegations that were preferred against them have been dropped. The party no longer holds anything against them.
What is important is for us to, first of all, have them present themselves. And they've not done so. The governors have intervened. That is the reason the meeting will have them in there, so that we will still read this to them and say, you guys have done this, you have done this. Could you say your apologies here and don't do them again? If they're able to do so, fine. The House becomes united once again and we face the major challenge.
And if they're not?
Your guess will be as good as mine, Malcolm.
I don't have any guesses. What exactly will happen?
Well, the decision will cross that bridge when we get to it.
The reason why I say so is because some people have said that they weren't working on their own. When you look at them and you look at some of the comments that have come, in the wake of their suspension, it doesn't appear that, it does appear that they were acting as proxies for some other powerful interest within the party. So if that is the situation, if by just bringing them in, it is taken for granted that those other interests are being brought in, and that doesn't happen at the end of the day, where do you think it leaves your party?
You see, this is the problem, and that's a very, very important question. We need to really look at all of this, and that's the reason some of us are saying, look, the governors should tread carefully. It's not wise all the time when issues like this spring up, and then you find them showing concern that they have not shown in other cases. We had Elder Chief Dan Obi, a very important person, a very, very close ally of Nyesom Wike, who everyone will want to tie to this thing, suspended for the last 3 months or so. And he's taking his suspension. In fact, this duo, the two of these persons suspended now, were the ones who, took part in that, voted and even signed. And then my colleague Debo, the National Publicity Secretary, came and broadcasted to everybody about that suspension. So it's important to also know that those who seek equity come with clean hand. Now it is the turn of them to be suspended, and then you are having an intervention from the Governors Forum. While we are agreeing with that, while we think it's in the interest, overall interest of the party, we also need to be cautious about this whole thing. The question you threw is a very important one, really, because we need to really look at those persons whose script they are acting, if any. And if these persons are not, concerned with the overall interests of the party, then there lies the problem. And this is the reason why we are trading very carefully. By the time we take voting, in the NWC, we'll be able to be guided accordingly. And I think I would come all out later and brief you the outcome of that.
Did the Governors Forum summon Damagum to appear before them?
No, they do not have that power to do so, as provided for by law. But of course, it's a body that enjoys a lot of courtesy from every law-abiding member of the PDP. But they do not have power to summon a national chairman. It should be the reverse, if you ask me. But then they always interface with him. He's a brother to them and a friend to all of them. So they do not summon him. They interface. They meet from time to time because they are our critical asset, don't forget. Anytime they admonish him to come, he comes again to brief them, the runnings of the party, the state of the party, because they are the custodians of our fortune, if you like. And so expected to have a robust working relationship.
So what do you or NWC think about the narrative that some of the governors want the NEC, at least they're going to get updates in terms of what's going on with the NEC, but above all else, they think that the North Central, because they say some of the members in the North Central are agitating, that the chairmanship must resort to them. They have to be allowed to produce someone from the North Central to replace Ayu. And that is what they say the NEC will decide.
Well, it's a wishful thinking. As long as all of these things we are doing are not against the provision of the Constitution, which is succession, time limit, it doesn't say it has to be replaced by North Central in the case of, it says the chairman, the deputy national chairman from the region of the vacating national chairman takes over. And that's what Damagum has. Damagum is from the North. Yocha Ayu is from the North. So if the North Central is calling, of course, we have an important governor from the North Central, the governor of Plateau State. He's probably the leader of the region. If he has called on that, we will respect that. But he has not done so. And certainly those persons who are imagining it's important for them to have that replacement from North Central should push further a little more. They are entitled. That's the beauty of democracy. But again, we will do what is in compliance with excellent provisions of our laws.
So what happens in the event that maybe the governors meet, a majority of them think that, no, Damagum has got to step down, let somebody from North Central decide? How will that be handled?
Yeah, we will look at that when that comes up. But then we will remind them what the Constitution says, whether we are supposed to yield to their recommendation when it is against the provision of the law, or whether we should respect what the law states and jettison their position. We will cross that bridge eventually. I've always argued we have sufficient internal mechanism and shock absorbers to take all of this pressure. We're prepared to deploy one yet.
When are you due to host a convention?
It's in December 2025, just a year away.
And it can't be earlier than that?
Oh, no, except NEC suggests otherwise, but it cannot be. It's sacrosanct. It's a 4-year time.
Because there are those who suggest that because Mr. Damagum is not substantive chairman, there are certain things, there are certain privileges he cannot enjoy, that there are certain privileges that are reserved only for substantive chairmen, not for acting chairmen.
But he's been providing leadership. That's what is important. Damagum is not the ambitious sort of person. You could see he is entitled to move into the office of the national chairman, which he has not done. He's still occupying the office of the deputy national chairman, his own office. He said, no, all of these things. The paraphernalia of office, of course, I agree with you. As substantive national chairman, you are accorded more recognition. But no, what's important for us is the leadership, which he has been able to provide. He has united the NWC. He has been able to put all of these suspensions, slamming suspensions in all of our organs and states, to history. He's not doing all of these things that would reverse us back to our lost glory.
You say he has united the NWC. Yes, you say you are not exactly decided on what exactly is going to happen today.
No, of course, that is the reason he's calling them. You see, the only thing that happened recently was the going out, somebody from Canada, from the stratosphere, suspending the national chairman. You would not expect all of these things. I've always argued, running a home front is as difficult as you can imagine. How much more a political party that is, as big as PDP. We have 13 governors as we speak, and we've governed this country for 16 years. We have provided leadership at the highest level. We still have fantastic senators out there in the National Assembly. We have members of the House of Rep. And you would expect that this kind of a political party, and with this dwindling performance by the APC, everybody will be jostling to see that the PDP regains its footing so that it will identify with the PDP. It is all of these things that continue to cause this problem and disharmony in the House. But we're managing it smartly, and we'll navigate the waters, I can tell you that. The next time we'll be talking about a united front, a formidable PDP, and a cohesive body that will be able to confront the 2027 election. And not just partake in it, but win. We came back from Ondo State. Of course, you needed to see the rally and to see how everybody was from the airport. The rally took over 3 hours to connect to, the pavilion where we had the rally. It's just because, and then we went, the Obas, everybody saying that, please, you people should come back. Just while I was driving this morning, I was watching a video in the car. And of course, people were saying that someone was turning a gallon, a 4 liter of petrol in his tank. And he was saying that, please, PDP, wherever you are, even if you are coming to slit our throats, come back, I beg, we're tired. The car that I usually have full tank all the time, I cannot buy 4 liters now comfortably. I don't use the car to go to the market. I take bike. The car has become just some kind of structure in my house, standing and lying fallow. Nobody will start it for weeks.
But we cannot have even if PDP were to come back, you're not going to take the price of petrol back to what it was
in the first place. If it hadn't lost that election, we would not have been here. And so that Midas touch that we have to keep the bag of rice at 6,500 in 2015, to keep the dollar at 167, to keep the price of fuel at 65, we would still deploy that with them. Nigerians are left now with the decision to judge. In any case, all of the elections that followed since the loss of election have been in favor of the PDP. But this army of occupation, including Edo State, I'm sure you have seen that, where the two camps of Adams Oshomole and Eze Iyamu are now saying that, please, we know how we got these people. We forced our supposed governor, Monday Pueblo. If we don't do, because they said one person is taking all of the appointments, and that's Adams Oshomole accusing Iyamu of cornering all the opportunities at his disposal. Either if you don't allow it to be fairly distributed, we will expose to the world. And it is good for Nigerians to now see what happened. We have shouted on rooftop that election was stolen. It was a brazen daylight robbery. And of course, we will test that at the tribunal. We only hope that the judges will come all out and live to the expectations of their billing.
Until that is determined, the APC is the winner of that election. So we're waiting. In fact, the chairman of the party has said, look, we've got a formula that we're going to use in Ondo as well, and that there's no way, they don't see a chance for the PDP winning that state.
Let them try. But you had the chairman of that election, the governor of Oyo State. You heard what he said last week during our rally. He said that, look, he's calling, first of all, on Professor Yakubu to ensure that the rec of that state is replaced. Because here you have an indigene of the state made the resident electoral commissioner of Ondo State. And he said, until that is done, Ondo is not Edo. We're going to ensure that we deploy everything, all the arsenals at our disposal to ensure that that fraudulent approach that was deployed in stealing the mandate against us in Edo State is not replicated here in Ondo. And so we would go that.
Is there anything new that the party, the APC, is doing in election that PDP didn't do at the time? Except
the rigging, except the brazen day robbery.
Didn't PDP rig elections?
No. We were incredible.
Well, we had, I'm trying to remember his name.
Olumide Akpata.
Yeah, and we also had Mr. Kocha Rivers, who told us categorically, while PDP was in power, they were rigging elections. He said that openly on TV.
I'm not sure he has proven that substantially. If he had done so, he probably would have gotten it. Because there we allowed, a sane environment, a climate where even our own anti-corruption leaders were fought. You will remember that was the time Etafa Balogun, an IG, a sitting Inspector General of Police, was humiliated by a sitting president. We lost some states because of their ineffectiveness.
That doesn't mean they didn't rig elections. You rig where you're popular. That's what people politicians always say.
It has to be proven, because they were not able to prove it then. That's why we're
trying. Even an open confession from past riggers doesn't help. I remember Senator Mantu granting an interview and confessing in an interview that he helped rig elections.
Yeah, that was Mantu. May God bless his soul. I'm not sure those who had the opportunity to prove otherwise did what they ought to do. In our own case now, we justify that it was rigged against us in Edo, and we'll pursue it vigorously. We'll pursue it to the very last, like we did with Atiku Abubakar, until they showed us might, state might, to the Supreme Court. So we'll continue to do all of that to ensure that we strengthen this democracy through the courts.
Well, what is thinking of the party now? Because, the NEC will hold, then you could have the convention, but I know that many people are already talking about what the PDP might do for the next elections. And the camp of Atiku is saying, well, look, we're still very, very boisterous. He's still going to contest as long as he's alive and well. So he will not be like everybody else and get the ticket. It's a democracy.
Let him try. Nobody stops him. That's the beauty of democracy. By the time we'll go to poll in 2027, Atiku would have been 80. Whether he will be a suitable candidate, it will be left for Nigerians to decide at that time. But as a party, we will not stop anyone. It's his constitutional right. It's provided for as his privilege. He will enjoy it. If he tries to, of course, we have United States of America. You see, the two candidates, except now that until the coming of Harris, I beg your pardon, Biden was about to run again for the second time. And of course, he's their opponent. Donald Trump is again someone that is almost at 80. So by the time we go to poll next 2 months, he would almost be 80. And so it won't stop. If this advanced and civilized climbs are still parading the septuagenarians, as it were, and then there's nothing that stops us from copying their model. But after all, our democracy is patterned after the Western world, America and Britain.
I wonder what you make of headlines like this, though. 2027, pro-Wike PDP bigwigs come north for Makende's running mate. I'm sure you've seen that particular headline.
Running mate?
Yeah.
It's decided already.
Yes, that's the beauty of democracy. Wow. By the time we would be done with this year, which is just 2 months away, we would have gone back to the trenches and campaigns will commence in earnest by the middle of next year. So it's not out of place for us to begin to, you see, the wise politician starts preparing from the day he is said to have lost election. You start preparing against the next one. So it will not be out of place for us to start trying the waters, presenting the alternatives that we have. If Makinde is appealing to Nigerians, and I don't see why not, we try it. Every time PDP has an array of opportunities to deploy. If Atiku Abubakar that you just mentioned is the one who gets it, fine. If it's Makinde, if it's Fintiri, we have suitable candidates to present.
And it's interesting, you say you have suitable candidates to present, but the real thing I was looking at there is the fact that you're still looking at pro-Wike PDP bigwigs. I mean, your party is still going to have to deal with that internal factionalization regardless of attempts to do the reconciliation, which it says it's doing.
And that is the reason we are doing all of the burning the candles to ensure that there's no pro this. What we have is a PDP. And all of those persons you are calling, including Wike, are critical stakeholders in this party the last time I checked. None of them is out of party. So whatever it is, whether the press or some mischief makers are the ones who are saying pro this, it's left to them to prove. What is important is, what are the options open to us? And who are the ones that are aliens to the party that are given a priority? Nobody. Everyone is in the party, including the Nyesom Wike, including Atiku Abubakar, including whatever faction anybody wants to mention. They are all critical stakeholders in the party. And if they present anybody within the party, we'll still look at the options and weigh what are opportunities. For a politician and for political party, the most important thing is the option open to you. What are that political capital at your disposal that will help you win election? If we play the cards and say, oh, this is a good sell, we'll do it, because the most important thing is for us to win election, regardless of what anybody says, even if it's not in consonance with their expectation. But the fortune of the party is most paramount, and that's where we go.
So at the moment, it's decided that Makinde is going to be the person, probably.
He's one of our options, and a very suitable one. His outstanding performance in Oyo State goes without mention. He's one of the outstanding governors, young, vibrant, articulate, and has carved a niche for himself. He's a material that could be sold anywhere. And I think I'm one of those persons who will yield to the option of bringing younger ones to try, because that way...
What about his acceptability nationally?
It's something that would be made... I was with him in Kaduna 2 weeks ago. You needed to see his arrival to honor the youth leader who took a wife. You needed to see the colorful reception that he got at the airport and the way people were escorting him to the tarmac to take his aircraft. You would say, oh, this young man has arrived. And I don't think it takes anybody. You always present options and sell to Nigerians. It's about selling, and it's a material we can sell on account of his outstanding performance in Oyo State.
So it is not something to dismiss. It's not a headline to dismiss.
Oh, sure. It's not a headline to dismiss. It's a presidential material, and we'll sell him accordingly.
So does that then mean that that statement we saw, where he was quoted to have said, I will do only one term, it means there can be some truth to that statement?
Well, it will be proven when you get to meet him. But what I do know is that he is a material to be sold for presidency. He has all of the clout, the reach, the capital, and the efficiency, the intellectual depthness to be able to man the office of the president. Certainly, Makinde will do this country proud, if you ask me, given the opportunity.
I always enjoy your very fluent optimism. You know, when you speak, you're always so optimistic about your party. Last time, you know, you had this suspension in the air. You were very definitive. We asked you whether this was not going to promote divisions. You were categorical in that regard. But you found out that, you know, that was not exactly, your optimism didn't quite pan out. Right now, you see your party trying to patch things. And then right now, you're saying, oh, you know what, they're back within the fold. We're not exactly holding those allegations. They're just going to answer to them. That's what you're saying today. So sometimes it's not as you say. You try to give the best picture possible. But you do know that politics, especially within the PDP at this moment, is going to be hard work. Unity within your party is going to be hard work. Isn't that correct?
That's correct, Maokwe. 1 + 1 in politics is not 2. And I know you know that much. So every time you wake up hoping that these things will go well. But the most important thing, even with reference to what you said, I said the last time, correct. We've got internal mechanisms that we've been deploying in reconciling our feud. And it's been the journey since the last 27 years or so. So this one is not going to be an exception. We are going to come out triumphant for the benefit of this country.
Can you tell us what the current situation is in Port Harcourt?
Yes, we are also addressing the problem in Port Harcourt. Nyesom Wike is a leader, a national leader of the PDP in that state. We have a sitting governor of PDP in that state, in the person of His Excellency Sim Fubara. And of course, we are going to also address the pending problems. There are a few of them, to be able to see that we get back the control of our party united once again. It's still within the works that we're doing.
So it's not it's not too far gone, as they say, for reconciliation between both of them, both camps?
24 hours is too much time in politics. A lot of things will happen. And then with the might, with the kind of person, the colorful attention that this River State has attracted, we're going to certainly nip it in the bud. We'll come out triumphant. There will be light at the end of the tunnel. Take my words.
Governor Makinde, whom you say, has very impressive credentials, well, some will say, yes, he's done pretty okay in the area of infrastructure. They're not very clear on where he stands with regards to autonomy. He does seem to have pushed back a great deal with local government autonomy, and he hasn't seemed to have, in fact, as a matter of fact, he's told people, back off. We know what we're doing in Oyo. We don't need any external. So he's not very big in the area of transparency around there, is he?
He is, actually. What he's saying is that a political solution would be deployed eventually. And I think he has already set a machinery in place, because he's not one person that
What political solution?
Of course, you see, the Supreme Court has pronounced the position. And this gentleman say, as a student of law, as a Nigerian who will adhere to the provision, once the Supreme Court speaks, that's Mike Inde, I'm quoting him verbatim. Once the Supreme Court has spoken, it's now incumbent upon every law-abiding citizen to adhere, including himself. And so what he's trying to say is that in between the two disagreements, a meeting point will be attained for the collective good of democracy. And I think that is what even the Supreme Court itself is saying, that those of them that have already disagreed or are not finding should be able to find a way of brokering a meeting point or a standing, that would be able to go in the interest of democracy. Democracy is the most important thing here that would be salvaged. So certainly Makinde is not going to do anything.
I don't know that the Supreme Court said all those things you're saying.
Yes, I'm telling you.
The Supreme Court, you are implying that the Supreme Court implied certain things. The Supreme Court was unambiguous in its terms.
By saying what, Malcolm?
By saying that the funds that should be given to local government should be given to elected local government chairman. Isn't that as clear as
clear? Then who is saying anything contrary to the contrary? No, but who says anything to the contrary, that the resources should not be given to the local government?
So what political solutions are we speaking of here?
We are talking about the elections of the officials of the local government. That's the bone of contention in part.
But we saw the APC chairman in Oyo State warning the governor that he is trying to tell people not to obey that Supreme Court decision of respecting that, look, if you don't have validly elected local government chairman, no resources. Because they accuse him of quite clearly dismissing that Supreme Court ruling.
Well, that is suspicion. You just say they suspected, right?
No, they're accusing him of saying that judgment, he was dismissing that judgment.
It's to the level of accusation. I don't think they have proven that substantially beyond reasonable doubt. If it's suspension...
they are not the court to prove beyond reasonable doubt.
Okay, then let's go back to the court. The Supreme Court has spoken. Everybody, including Sheyi Makinde, would adhere to that provision. And a political solution, which Marco is taking me on, would be deployed in ensuring that while complying with, the orders of the court, we also find, a middle point so that elections and every other thing will now be also a political option to be.
But he inaugurated a special committee to review that judgment.
Exactly what I'm saying.
To review a Supreme Court judgment?
No, not to review the Supreme Court.
No,
not to find amicable ways of implementing the recommendation, the order. It's not to review the judgment.
No, but he didn't support that judgment. He was like, no, this is taken away from them.
You see, that is always a difficult thing. You will come out of it. He's not one person that will do anything against the orders of the Supreme Court.
How come we saw the Oyo State LG chairman trying to form a different local government Algon group after he said that?
Well, I'm not aware of this, and I don't think...
you might need to take a second look at, what exactly is happening in Oyo State, because, this man whom you say, the governor whom you say is suitable. Some people will say
certainly he has a fantastic resume.
His constitutional, his ability to obey constitutional authority will be questioned in that regard, especially with what is happening with local government.
I don't think he will accept any of that. He is a very fantastic gentleman with
the council chairman
suitable resume.
They withdrew from Algon, or your state council chairman. They had a conference that they were withdrawing from Algon.
Well, that will be proven
under his watch.
That will be proven in the days ahead, and I'm not. I'm not sure that was with the backing of Sheyi Makinde, who is a very, very
has he said anything to the contrary?
Governor.
Are you aware if he's said anything to the contrary?
No, I'm not.
Isn't silence consent? All right. There you go. Well, thank you for coming on, Ibrahim Abdullah, acting National Public Secretary of the PDP, until NEC meets and decides otherwise.
NWC today.
There you go. So that is it. Our business morning comes up now.